Hey, dude.
Hey man, what's going on?
Oh, just
You
going
know,
just here to talk about the back room.
yeah. So this is, I think, the third backrooms review I'm doing on this channel. I'll have a link to the other two, but the first review I'm doing with my buddy Leo, which is great.
Hello, everybody. This will be the third of, we're thinking 20, 25. Until the sequel comes out. We'll release a review probably once every 3 days for the next 4 years
Yeah.
until we have dominated the backrooms dialogue on YouTube.
So what did you like about it?
Seen your other reviews. I thought the points you guys brought up were really good. They pretty much nailed the atmosphere, and I really liked the intro to the backrooms. It felt like true to the source material that a guy would just no clip into the backrooms, right? One shot I really like is that crack of light shining through the backrooms into his basement when Clark sees it. I was like, that is a great introduction to, like, because it kind of reminds you of real life glitches in like old like N64 games and shit. So it was like, all right, that was on brand. I like that. I thought the acting was fine, except for that very annoying, like the young couple he gets. They're annoying as shit, but they're, they were they were acted fine to be annoying. The chase sequences and stuff are really, like, I wish that there was more of that in the movie, but I thought the ones that I did see were really good. I thought maybe the first death was a little bit too much cheese, because, how many times have we seen a dude get dragged away by a monster and it's just like a blood trail into something? It's like, all right. I mean, that was kind of typical, but
Yeah.
I did enjoy the amount of that we saw the backrooms. I would have liked more, but I did like what I saw. And I thought like the scene where he's running through like the little Christmas zone, and there's that still life, the female still life. That's probably the best, that's like the peak of the movie, in my opinion.
So the main thing that I was kind of quarreling with was, like, so Clark, he's there, and then he goes in with the two students or whatever, like his assistants, and then what happens to them happens to them. And then we kind of just jump back to the therapist. She gets a phone call of him saying, I opened the window, and he's not coming back. Eventually she goes there, and then of course, what happens. She sees him. And I keep thinking, like, you definitely needed that span of time to really have that, like, gut punch where it's like, oh, now he's just fucking bonkers. But part of me kind of wish you get to see that transformation. I mean, that's a different, direction entirely. But
yeah, it feels like we're missing a quarter of the movie where that happens. Honestly.
Yeah. What do you think about that? Would you prefer that or no?
I don't mind the idea that, like, story-wise, it makes sense. It follows that, like, okay, now he goes missing. Now we got to learn a little bit about the therapist's background. And then now she's in the mix. She has to go find what he found. That's kind of like typical for, like, mystery. It's like a mystery in Morrowbrooke, perhaps. You need like a mystery to pull back more characters into the mix. The main characters, right? That makes sense. But yeah, totally rushed part of the movie. Definitely the weakest part. I have some theories personally. I actually wrote down notes because I wanted to make sure that I had them in order. But that is definitely the weakest part of the movie. I wrote that part down. That jump is so abrupt, and it's like, ooh, now he's crazy, even though he wasn't before. He was like more depressed before, and then he's like shining like Jack Nicholson. Now he's crazy, and he's crazy. He's also making artwork on the wall it's like, that's literally like it's like when you find a Resident Evil, like a note from a scientist in Resident Evil where he's like, I've been infected, and then the next note it's just like, I'm a zombie. And it honestly doesn't, like, if she came down and she found like a professionally made map of the back rooms that he had been like planning out, kind of like his little sketchbook, but like done properly, that would make sense. That would be a natural progression.
Yes, that would have been so.
That would make a lot more sense than some spooky, scary, ooh, I'm going crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I thought the therapist's backstory was handled a little well. It kind of also that part also seemed a little rushed, because it's like there wasn't enough lead up to her to make the viewer feel like this was actually that deep of an issue for her, like her mother going crazy and stuff. They could have had more like obvious signs that this has been weighing on her forever. I guess, reading the book or your audio tapes and stuff, and her whole like guided meditation, escape your pain or whatever, that kind of does hint that way. But again, it's just that whole section of the movie feels rushed and somewhat unearned. I guess that's the word I was looking for, was the payoff is a little bit unearned on that.
So kind of going back to what I was talking about with Zach and Evan in the other review, the big thing for them was, like, especially for Evan, was like the movie should have just ended with her escaping, but then we get the lore dump Parsons at the very end, which is so funny to think about because compared to how much the backrooms as a concept has expanded, like with different YouTube creators making different things, this seems like very lore light. One comment was like, oh, my brother won't watch it because it doesn't have roller coaster level or it doesn't have the arcade level or something. And I'm like, okay, yeah, well, you're definitely not going to like it. But like, do you think it would have been better if there was the async stuff kind of sprinkled throughout, but at the end she just left and I don't know, she emerges from like a skate park or something? Like the portal that takes her out back to the real world is somewhere else, you know, and then she just like, she lives with like, what the fuck just happened? And in that way, if you did that, again, like her arc would be complete and you could kind of mirror the scene where on the first exploration where, you know, Clark went in that first night and then he heard noises and he came out and took the stool and then it was that long shot on his face. Just like, what the fuck just happened? You could have that with her, you know, after all this fucking craziness and then she walks off into the sunset or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah,
what do you think?
I mean, yeah, I think it needed to pick which direction it wanted to go and it tried to do both. I think like as a concept, conceptually, the backrooms I think would work better if you just entirely remove the async stuff, or you can sprinkle it in but keep it super vague. And there would be more of like, you know, the ending shot of Good Time where it's just like, it is like a shot of his face and he's this realization of, you know, it's a little bit, it's slightly emotionally different for that one because it's a what have I done thing in Good Time, but in Backrooms it would be like a what the fuck did I just see and experience. Yes, if they were going to run it that way, that would be the perfect ending. Or alternatively, I really liked the parts with Mark Duplass probably because he carries those scenes. He's so good. But they could have, I want to say the async stuff doesn't ruin the movie because they kind of meet the landing a little bit if they had just like made it more clear that the doctor's getting executed. Because that's basically my personal theory is like the way that scene is shot, she knows that they're never going to let her go and he knows that they're never going to let her go. And the still life, actually I wrote this down, the still life of Mary that we see at the end is actually her last memory, right? The room resembles the interrogation room. She's sitting there. It's like her last memory because right after that interview, they pop her probably or something. Because, you know,
Interesting.
Yeah. The fade out of all the audio when he tells her, he's like, it's not up to me. That to me is like a confirmation that she's accepted that she's going to die after this interview. And then I kind of feels like the movie is also pointing at that again with the last shot of her still life. So that was my personal take of the movie we did get.
I think that's very good. I mean, I knew based on his comments that, like she probably wasn't going to make it out alive, you know, and they're just going to do away with her. But yeah, I think that's so interesting. I think the thing that's kind of been throwing me off was the fact that, like, again, her still life was sitting at such an angle that, like, it really resembled her mom, like the last memory she had of her mom. So in that sense, it could be interesting where I think we could both be right in the sense that, like, they pop her and that's the last memory that she has. And then therefore that's kind of, I guess, in a way, the latest memory that the Backrooms has of her, but then it's also mixed with the last memory of her mom, where her mom is being wheeled away, you know, and she's remembering it as a kid, and her mom is kind of slumped over in that wheelchair. Like she looked, she was pretty slumped over. So that combination is like, I don't know, that's really interesting.
I also thought you kind of just triggered something there. I think it's possible they were sort of also maybe hinting that her fate will be the same as her mom's. So maybe they don't kill her after, but she's carted away to an institution forever and will just be seen as crazy. That could also be what the movie was kind of like, what do you think? So, you know.
And I think that makes sense too, because even if Async released her, even if they released her, who the fuck's gonna believe her? Like, she didn't have any footage or whatever of that place. Like, people are gonna think she's crazy. So yeah, I think that definitely makes sense as well, for sure.
One of them, I'm pretty sure I've seen it online since, but I wondered if Crazy Clark is actually Still Life himself, and then the Pirate Clark is the original Clark. Like maybe he's morphed into some kind of, you know, I kind of get what Parsons was doing. So like his shadow self is Pirate Clark, and you know, Crazy Clark is who he becomes. And you know, it's such a dark message because the therapist basically just tells him like, yeah, you can't solve your problems. I can't solve my problems. You should just kill yourself, which is basically just stay in the back rooms, right? But
yeah,
well, here's the thing. They made it, you know, that little abrupt jump is so sloppy that it's like, you know, how are we not supposed to maybe wonder if Crazy Clark is the same character? Because his character is so different from what we've seen before. And maybe the shadow self of Clark is Crazy Clark, and then Pirate Clark is the original one. And, you know, maybe in that way it's a victory. That way the story is completely turned around. And, you know, even as a monster, Pirate Clark redeems himself by killing his shadow self, which is Crazy Clark. And I noticed also during that like super slow running away scene at the end where he chases her, he doesn't appear to be actually trying to kill her or anything. He's like 16 feet tall. He doesn't like crush her or hurt her or anything. He appears to like be asking for her help, but he can't speak anymore. I was kind of getting like a I have no mouth and I must scream kind of vibes from there. It's like very slight, but it might be there. It does seem like he was reaching for help as opposed to trying to kill her, because he doesn't really do anything to harm her, and she hurts herself on a sofa. So, you know, that's the real enemy of the therapist, just sofas.
Yeah, no, for sure.
The other thing, okay, so on that same note, I like realized this, that the chronology, so like at the very start of the movie, they got the async guy gets killed by an entity that you're supposed to think is Pirate Clark, and they find that dude's bag of supplies later on in the movie, like with his ID card and stuff, but like Clark hasn't found the backrooms when that async guy gets killed, so maybe that entity isn't even Pirate Clark. You don't really get a good look at it, and it just doesn't make sense for there to be Pirate Clark.
Yeah.
I don't really know how the backrooms fully works. They kind of rightfully, purposely made it a little vague, but that was
yeah. For all we know, it could be like this. It could be the squiggly.
Yeah, I do like the squiggly. He's pretty cool. I remember seeing. Damn, I don't even remember where I saw this, so it could have just been a random YouTube short. But I saw something that like Pirate Clark, as that memory becomes more distorted, becomes the squiggly monster. I believe there's something there. Like as the memory like slowly fades, kind of like that 6-hour long album by The Caretaker. How like it just gets worse and worse over the 6 hours. I'm just pulling it from the ether, but Pirate Clark may become the squiggly monster over like the course of 15 years or something. I'm not sure. That's a good game theory, though.
So you think that's something we could probably see in the sequel, right? Because I mean, he's writing it now. He could be done with it for all we know. I don't know. But like, since it's happening, that's the thing that I was thinking about. Like, is it going to follow any of the same characters? I mean, Mark Duplass, you can obviously have him in it again. You know, nothing bad happened to him, as far as we know. But like, I don't know. Pool rooms, like, I have no idea. What do you think? What do you think's going to happen? And what would you want to happen?
What I think is going to happen? Well, I'll tell you what I want to happen, and then I'll say what I think, how close they're going to get to the mark. Because there's really only two logical directions you could do a sequel and not make the same movie. So one of them is you would have to do like a PT Silent Hills thing, where the protagonist is going through different people's backrooms and rescuing them or fixing the backrooms in some way, which I don't think they'll do, but that would be the one way that you could do it, is it's a single protagonist going through, like somehow he knows about the backrooms, or maybe it's an async guy. You could do like a Jason Bourne async guy where he has to go through and rescue people. They get like a ping that they're like, oh, there's another human in the backrooms, you got to go rescue him, and it's just like for rescue missions. You could do that.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting.
I don't think they would go that direction. The direction they're probably going to go, which they're probably going to fuck it up, I think, in my opinion, but we'll see, is, you know, the movie Cairo by Kiyoshi Kurosawa, where
yes, I love that. I know we've talked about it a lot.
Yeah, I love that. I love Kurosawa in general, all of his movies, but that movie's really good, obviously. But the ghosts leaking into the real world, and it's like a ghostly apocalypse, super unique, super good. That's basically the only way you could expand and do like an escalation of Backrooms 1 is that Backrooms 2, Mark Duplass, he already said that you know, there's portals opening up everywhere, so it would have to be like a backrooms apocalypse situation where, you know, creatures are leaking out from these portals, which isn't wholly unique, but it's always an interesting concept. It's got lots of legs in it still. That is the direction I think they will probably go, but I don't know if they'll stick the landing on that one either. It might just, or they could a completely different thing where Mark Duplass is the main character of the sequel, and maybe he's trying to stop it from happening. Maybe. Perhaps.
Yeah. One interesting thing that, again, I keep going back to this because, you know, it was a long discussion we had, but like the other review I did with Evan and Zach, it was kind of about like, Zach brought up a good point where he was like, oh, they could take a totally different route tonally and make the sequel very, very literal and explain a bunch of shit and whatnot, even though they kind of already spoiled it by like kind of tacking on the Kane Lord Dump Parsons at the end of the first one.
Yeah.
Which again, we shit on that, and it's like I mentioned in that review as well, I was not surprised that happened. You know, I kind of knew that was going to happen. I do still find it funny that he said in an interview that he doesn't like to over-explain stuff, when I feel like that whole scene, the dinner table scene with Clark and the therapist, I keep forgetting her name, Clark explained it fairly well. And again, like, he's just someone who's experiencing it. He doesn't know all like the full scope of what the backrooms can do, but I think his explanation was good enough. Anyway, so yeah, if they had like a sequel where it followed Mark Duplass and he's like getting a job there and like wanting to do normal MRI type shit, and then now boom, like
that would be
Pirate Clark, yeah. But I don't know.
That's a good angle too. The first day on the job with Mark Duplass, before they even find the backrooms, was how did they find the backrooms? That's a good story. That might be the only
Exactly.
direction people could go in and have it be pretty solid. I wrote one. I was like, well, if I was going to do something that was completely wildly different and still maintain the mystery, I would probably pick an entirely different time of history. And the one I had was, it's like colonial era. And you think in terms of like an English settler or a buccaneer, he's got to be like a Navy guy because he's got to show up on a ship. And we would incorporate like the Roanoke, like the disappearance of Roanoke trope. So like you've got a settler of some sort, maybe a Navy guy, English Navy guy. He makes contact, like they're making contact with the natives. Maybe there's a Pocahontas situation where his love interest is one of the native girls, and the natives are worshiping a portal or various portals, and then she goes missing into the portal, and he has to follow her, and it's just the backrooms. So it's like, and I want to keep the pirate theme. I want to keep the pirate theme, so he'd have to be a pirate of some sort. And you think you're getting in the witch type situation, but it's actually just the backrooms. So now it's like a 17th century pirate in like 1990s, empty mall vibes. I think I was just as a joke, right? But I thought that was pretty funny. I was coming up with
No,
it.
I think, and I think that whole concept that itself is like, I would like to see that movie just because it is still Backrooms, but it's a totally different movie. But it also brings up the question where it's like, this originated from a photo and it's taken place in the 90s, at least in this movie, but could it essentially take place anytime?
I always there's a couple other things that might be cool that they could have done in that, nobody tries to break through the walls in the back rooms. There could be a lot of there could have been a lot of opportunity in the chase sequences. Like she hurt herself on like a bunch of sofas, but what if the floor also if you can go through a wall into the back room, why can't the back rooms also have fake walls that you can fall through? Right, that would be interesting. There's a lot of potential. I don't think they wasted it. I think it was still pretty solid high 7, light 8. I would still put it. I enjoyed it. A little bit of lore dumping, but I think for a first movie like a directorial debut, he did fine. And I would still probably watch it again. I really liked that diner scene is super good, or dinner scene. Sorry, is super well shot and everything.
No, it was really good. I mean, and I know that we were like, I guess really me as well, definitely shitting on the whole lore stuff. But again, it was, I think it's just because I love the mystery of it. But then, of course, one thing I brought up in that review, which I'm going to bring up in this one, is that Josh made a good point where he was like, kind of off camera. He made a point where he's like, well, if you don't explain it and people have like the async imagery in there, they might think, oh, the government made this room. And like, I definitely don't think people should think that. I think that's totally, because that's just not true as far as we know by the lore. And like, I think that's a bit cheesy if that were even like actual, lore. So yeah, you almost kind of like have to have async a little bit, but then you need to make it somewhat clear that like they also don't know what the fuck it is. So from that perspective, it's like, I get it, but also part of me is like, fuck it. If you just had like nothing at all and you just had the backrooms be what it is and you're experiencing it like from the perspective of the protagonists, and there's no other explanation, that would be really cool too. But again, that's the movie for what it was. Like when I first heard that he was making a Backrooms movie and A24 was going to do it, I'm like, okay, well, thank God it's not like,
yeah,
was it so
something?
Yeah,
or Marvel.
Yeah, exactly. But exactly, yeah. But so based on what I initially assumed, it was much better, and I definitely should have given Kane more props to that. But but it was. So you say like what, 7.5, maybe 8?
Yeah, I go 7.8.
What did you think about the whole thing about like her head being in the fridge? That was kind of odd. Like, because to me that took the whole crazy Clark thing to a whole new level.
That's a really good point. I forgot about that. Yeah, I forgot about it because it's so like out of left field that like that's so it's
so quick. Like
part.
It's just like he opens it, he's like, yeah.
I thought it was good imagery, and the fridge is always cool imagery, and it just who does a better Descent into Madness? Eddie Dombrowski from the Silent Hill 2 remake is a much better, and it's a video game, and that's a much better Descent into Madness performance than Clark's, because the whole like jump, we just really needed to see his descent. If it actually is the same dude and he just went crazy, we should have seen him killing that little Asian girl. Just saying.
Yeah.
Like that could have easily been remedied with like an off quote or like an off line about him keeping her around in hopes that she'll come back as like a still life. That would have fixed the whole thing, you know.
Yeah.
I'm hoping the backrooms will
I
deliver.
think that's a great point. Yeah. If you
Yeah.
just said that,
He could have fixed the whole thing. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, I get it now. Killed by Pirate Clark, kept the body in hopes that she'd come back as a still life. Done. Easy. Maybe he,
no, that definitely makes sense. I think that would have been, yeah.
The other thing would be like he's already
Yeah.
eating them. He's using them for food, so he would want to keep her and have the backrooms make it's starting to rain. Have the backrooms make her a still life so that he would have more food. Done. It's a full circle now. You've got everything. He just wants another food source, so he keeps her body around so that the backrooms will make another one.
Yeah.
Of course.
No, I think that
2020.
all this stuff would have definitely cleared it up. Yeah.
Hindsight's 2020. I mean, it's easy to armchair attack Kane for missed opportunities, but I mean, that's the fun. So, you know, I wish we had seen more of the wife still life. She was probably the scariest monster that by far. Pirate Clark.
Oh yeah.
He was creepy as hell. And the little guy. By the way, that little man with the lamp, 100% a reference to Mulholland Drive. Like that like way he's lit up.
Yeah.
He's just like the mob boss in the wheelchair in Mulholland Drive. He also has a lamp right beside him. He's played by the little man from Twin Peaks. I can't remember his name, but you know, he's in some Lynch films. But that whole character, even though I think that was just Kane Lynch throwing a knot. Kane and Lynch 2, my favorite game. Kane Parsons was throwing throwing a nod to David Lynch because that little guy just looks like he's from Mulholland Drive, and was pretty fun too. I liked that. Like they somewhat have some kind of sentience. So like when Pirate Clark is arriving, they show fear and like he's clicking his little lamp on and off. It kind of reminds me of kind of like the bell ringer from Breaking Bad. Actually, maybe there's a bit of DNA in there too. The guy in the wheel, I can't remember his name. Hugo's grandpa.
Yeah. Hector, yeah.
Hector, yeah. Look at me, Hector. Yeah. This is more of a complaint, but it was a cool shot. It kind of worked, but it's kind of sloppy conceptually. Is that when he's running the first time, right before the abrupt cut to where he's crazy, he's got the camera, and then he sets the camera down. He goes to the wall. He's talking to the therapist through the wall. Can't find her, and then the camera comes up to film him. It's like, which still life does that? Do we know? We don't. Right? Like, which still life is filming them? It's a cool shot, but it just took me out of the movie a little bit.
I assumed that was Pirate Clark because the camera went up super high. I mean, that's the highest, but which is weird because I don't really know why Pirate Clark, like, it's a cool shot. It's obviously like a very spooky, ooky thing.
Woo.
Speaking of Spooky House, our first feature film comes out in October, but no, that was like not something I'd expect Pirate Clark to do, you know? So it was more just kind of like Kane really wants a shot, but
yes,
but I don't imagine Pirate Clark would see like a potential victim there and then be like, oh, what's this camera? Let me pick it up, but keep it in the same angle. Like, it just doesn't seem like it would happen.
The movie, because I was like, they're just putting the shot in here because it looks cool. And I was like, you keep Pirate Clark's name out your mouth because he would never do that. Pirate Clark would never pick up a camera. Also, now that I think about it, the shot where when she escapes Pirate Clark through that little crack in the wall and they spray her is very goofy. Now that I'm looking back on it, I'm remembering it. It's like very cartoony and kind of took me out a little bit. They brought it right back to show her reactions and stuff where she's passing out. So that was fine. But that particular like 1 second shot, I'm like, that's some cartoon shit. The strongest thing I think I've said is that I'm pretty adamant that Mary's still life is her last memory. That would save the movie for me, honestly, if they actually nailed that, landed. But everything's I have no problem with ambiguity. I have no problem with it. And this was a mix of good ambiguity with a little bit too much lore dumping, but it's still a great movie. So I enjoyed it.
100% agree. It's still a great movie, and the lore dump was something. Definitely think that it kind of ruined it for Evan, maybe a bit for Zach and me. But you know, again, there was so much else about the movie I loved that, like, yeah, it's great. It's really good. So I think I gave it last time like a 7 or something like that. So, but I don't know. Yeah, like I'd probably give it 7.5. So cool, great, yeah, nice. We'll definitely do another review when you see Obsession, and